everyone. Welcome back to the Incredible India podcast series. I'm Sam.
And I'm Keller.
And today, well, we're embarking on a deep dive into a story that honestly sounds like pure fiction. But it's startlingly, maybe even terrifyingly real.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about a diamond. A diamond so valuable, so notorious, it's rumored to carry a curse.
Oh, serious one.
Seriously. Leaving this trail of bloodshed and betrayal right across the centuries. It's a gem that, it's witnessed more backstabbing than probably any Shakespearean tragedy you could name.
Oh, absolutely. Empires crumbled, kings met really violent ends, rulers were poisoned, often while clutching this infamous stone.
Wow.
And the stack of sources you've given us, our listener, this rich collection of articles, research, notes it paints a really compelling picture. It's documented chaos.
And chaos. I like that.
Yeah, a pattern of violence and loss tied to this one object, spanning centuries across India, Persia, Afghanistan, Britain. The sheer consistency of it is just striking.
It really is. So our mission today is to unpack the shocking, often pretty bloody history of the Kohinoor diamond. It's a 105.6 carat gem.
And just quickly, a carat that's a unit of weight, like 200 milligrams, used for gems. So 105.6 carats is substantial.
Right, substantial. And this diamond isn't just a beautiful object. It's been like a central character in these epic tales of immense power, unimaginable treachery, and, well, undeniable misfortune. We're going to try and extract the most important nuggets of knowledge, the surprising facts, to get you well-informed quickly, moving beyond just the surface story into what it all really means.
And what's fascinating, like right from the very start, is that the sources suggest the first shocking betrayal linked to this diamond. It happened even before it got its famous name, Kohinoor.
Before the name.
Okay. Yeah. That sets a really ominous stage, doesn't it, for its whole notorious origin story?
Okay, let's unpack this then. Our story starts way back, ancient India. The diamond first pops up in historical records around the 13th century.
Yes, specifically connected to the Kakatiya dynasty. That's in South India.
Got it. And it wasn't just some pretty rock even back then. The sources consistently describe it as being literally worth kingdoms.
Worth kingdoms. That phrase really tells you something, doesn't it? About its perceived value, its power. It immediately became this object of intense, almost like obsessive desire.
And right away, this other aspect emerges, its reputation for misfortune.
Almost immediately, yeah. Kings were killed for it. Brothers betrayed brothers over it. The pattern was set incredibly early on. Owning this diamond basically painted a huge target on your back.
Signaled vulnerability, I guess.
Exactly. Vulnerability to ambition, to violence. It passed through the hands of various Mughal rulers, including Shah Jahan, the famous one, and almost every single transfer of ownership seemed to come wrapped in bloodshed and backstabbing. It's quite the pattern.
And you can absolutely see why it was so coveted. In its original form, it was apparently truly remarkable. Weighed a whopping 186 carats.
Yeah, that's nearly twice its current size. Huge.
Huge. And it reportedly sparkled with this unusual, blue-white fire, a quality you rarely see in other diamonds, almost like it had a tiny aurora borealis trapped inside it.
And the sources really emphasize its exceptional clarity, their unique color that just seemed to trap light, its massive size, obviously, and a perfect crystalline structure. It was, by all accounts, just a marvel of nature.
So what I find particularly intriguing, maybe even a bit sad, is the reaction when Prince Albert, Queen Victoria's husband, decided to have it recut in 1852.
Oh, the recutting.
He wanted to, increase its brilliance, make it fit European tastes?
Pretty much. Conform it to the contemporary European aesthetic. But in doing that, it was reduced to its current 105.6 carats. That's a staggering 40% loss of its original weight.
40%?
Yeah. And the diamond experts at the time, our sources say, they literally cried when they saw the original gem being transformed.
Cried. Wow.
Yeah. Which really highlights just how unique, how irreplaceable its original form must have been, with all its history and original character. Makes you wonder what stories were lost in those facets.
Wow. Yeah, that visual of experts crying over a diamond cut, that says a lot. And this early history, this consistent pattern of violence and disaster, it definitely fueled that emerging curse narrative, didn't it?
It absolutely did. If you connect the dots, the pattern of misfortune is just, it's hard to ignore. Almost every male owner of the Kohinoor met a violent end, or was imprisoned or lost their throne.
Like Shah Jahan.
Shah Jahan, imprisoned by his own son while he had it. Nadir Shah of Persia who stole it, only to be assassinated later. The pattern was just so consistent.
Hmm.
So much so that a Persian text from 1739 famously quoted Nadir Shah himself saying, "Whoever possesses this diamond will own the world, but will also know all its misfortunes."
Chilling.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it forces you to ask, right, was this just a series of really grim coincidences? Or does its history actually reflect something deeper about, you know, the destructive power of ambition, maybe amplified by the sheer desirability of the object itself?
Okay, let's dive deeper into one of those really early, really pivotal betrayals. The one that kind of cemented the diamond's dark reputation, Shah Jahan.
Ah, yes, the builder of the Taj Mahal.
Exactly. He had this incredibly profound connection to the Kohinoor. For him, it wasn't just a jewel, it was the ultimate symbol, like the tangible proof of Mughal power, of his divine right to rule.
Yeah, he often wore it, right?
Yeah.
As the centerpiece of his turban.
Right in the middle of his turban, believing it channeled divine favor, legitimized his whole reign. It was more than just a thing he owned, it was like an extension of his authority.
Which makes the betrayal even more potent. And this brings us to that intense family drama in 1658. It reads like a brutal political thriller. While Shah Jahan was gravely ill, his ambitious third son, Aurangzeb, he saw his chance. He cleverly spread rumors that his father had actually died.
Creating a power vacuum.
Precisely.
Right.
Which he then filled with swift, brutal force. He defeated his older brothers in this savage succession war, left a trail of princely blood. It was ruthless, calculated, a pure power grab.
And the really shocking detail, the one that just underscores the coldness of power. Once Aurangzeb seized control, he didn't just take the throne.
No, he imprisoned his own father, Shah Jahan, put him in the Agra fort, which, okay, it was opulent, but it was still a prison, the gilded cage.
And the view.
Yeah, he left Shah Jahan with his distant, poignant view of the Taj Mahal, the monument to his dead wife, his greatest achievement, a constant, painful reminder.
Oh, that's cruel.
And then, as a final flourish, Aurangzeb immediately claimed the Kohinoor diamond. He flaunted it, wore it conspicuously, like undeniable proof of his new, brutally secured legitimacy. It was symbolic, but also very literal. Taking the power, taking the diamond.
So what were the consequences of that? This father-son betrayal?
Devastating. Not just for them, but for the whole empire. Shah Jahan spent his last 8 years as a prisoner, gazing at the Taj, thinking about everything he'd lost and who had taken it.
And for Aurangzeb, did the diamond bring good fortune?
Not exactly. The diamond didn't bring the blessings his father hoped for. Despite a long reign, it was marked by constant rebellion, religious conflict, and the slow, kind of agonizing fracturing of the mighty Mughal Empire. It started breaking apart.
Mm.
And this specific betrayal, the sources are really clear on this, it absolutely solidified the diamond's reputation as a bringer of misfortune, specifically to the men who possessed it. It really speaks to how symbols of power can, ironically, become anchors of ruin when you get them through immoral means.
So the pattern of treachery just keeps going, unchecked. Which brings us to another pivotal moment of diamond-fueled deceit and devastation. Nadir Shah of Persia, 1739.
Ah, Nadir Shah. Now, this guy wasn't just a conqueror. He was a master of cunning, a real strategist.
What did he do?
So after decisively beating the Mughal army, he didn't just immediately sack Delhi. No, instead, in this act of calculated deception, he enters the city as a supposed guest of the Mughal emperor, Muhammad Shah.
Playing nice.
Playing very nice. And what's truly remarkable, maybe audacious, is his move during a feast. He noticed the emperor, Muhammad Shah, never wore his super famous jeweled turban, which everyone whispered contained the Kohinoor.
Ah, the turban trick.
Exactly. So Nadir proposed what seemed like this grand gesture of friendship, a friendly exchange of turbans.
Oh, wow. What could Muhammad Shah even do?
Nothing. Refusing would have been a massive insult to a man who had an army sitting right outside Delhi's gates. The sources describe the emperor's reluctant acceptance. You can just imagine the tension, forced smiles, underlying terror.
And what followed that friendly exchange?
Pure horror. The Kohinoor, the famous peacock throne, these treasures weren't enough for Nadir Shah. When rumors spread, possibly started by Nadir himself, that some Persian soldiers had been killed, he unleashed absolute hell on Delhi.
The Delhi massacre.
The Delhi Massacre. March 2010, 1739. For 9 horrific hours, his troops slaughtered an estimated 30,000 people. Men, women, children.
30,000?
The sources paint this chilling picture. Blood literally running through the streets like rivers, turning the city into a crimson nightmare. All while Nadir supposedly watched the carnage, detached, calculating,
Ouch.
apparently. And he ultimately plundered treasures worth roughly $700 million in today's money, including, of course, the Kohinoor.
Unbelievable greed. And did the diamonds stay with him?
Well, the diamond's journey just continued through more relentless bloodshed. Nadir Shah himself, true to the so-called curse, was assassinated in 1747.
Another violent end for a male owner.
Yep. It then passed to his grandson, who was promptly blinded and deposed. Then it went to Ahmad Shah Durrani, Nadir's cavalry commander, who founded the Afghan Empire. And later, another owner, Shah Shuja, was famously tortured with hot irons until he revealed where it was hidden.
Tortured for it. It just seems to attract violence, doesn't it?
Or maybe it just magnifies the existing brutality that comes with power struggles. It's hard to say definitively.
It just leaves this relentless trail of chaos and human suffering in its wake. It's staggering. And connecting this to the bigger picture, that Delhi massacre, the wounds never really healed, did they? Poisoned Indo-Persian relations for generations.
Absolutely. And the Mughals, once this mighty empire, they never truly recovered their glory. Their treasury was emptied. Their most precious symbols, like the Kohinoor, carried off as war booty. This huge plundering created a massive power vacuum, instability across the subcontinent.
Which brings up a crucial point, doesn't it? How many huge moments in history, like the weakening of the Mughals and the subsequent rise of European colonial powers, might have been, directly kickstarted by the lust for a single object like this diamond?
It's a fascinating question. The destabilization caused by Nadir Shah's invasion definitely left a wide-open door for the British East India Company. They expanded their influence, eventually established their vast empire, fundamentally altering South Asian history for centuries. The diamond became this silent, glittering harbinger of colonial expansion.
Which leads us neatly, if grimly, to the British acquisition in 1849, a chapter that really highlights colonial treachery, exploitation.
And manipulation.
Right. The central figure here is just heartbreaking. The 11-year-old Maharaja Dilip Singh, the last Maharaja of Punjab. His powerful Sikh kingdom had just been defeated by the British after 2 Anglo-Sikh wars.
Yeah. And his fate and the diamond's fate became completely intertwined.
What's truly unsettling here is the systematic way the East India Company manipulated him.
Oh, it was chillingly methodical. They didn't just take the diamond. They carefully dismantled the young Maharaja's entire world, his identity.
How did they do that?
Well, first, they deliberately isolated him from his mother, Maharani Jindan Kaur. They knew she was fierce, that she'd fight to protect her son's inheritance and heritage.
Get her out of the way.
Exactly. Then British officials became his guardians. They promised to safeguard the diamond for him. And then they proceeded to convert him to Christianity and systematically teach him to despise his own Sikh heritage.
Wow. That's more than just taking a jewel.
Oh, it was profound cultural reprogramming, psychological subjugation, all aimed at severing his ties to his land, his people, his history.
And the colonial powers, naturally, they spun a nice story for the folks back home.
Of course, they claimed they were rescuing the diamond from barbaric hands, presented it as a gift from a grateful Indian prince to good old Queen Victoria.
Our gift, right.
But Lord Dalhousie, the British Governor-General at the time, was much more blunt in his private letters. He explicitly called it a symbol of conquest and insisted it be presented directly to the Queen.
Symbol of conquest.
Yeah.
Much more honest.
And they even cleverly used the existing curse narrative to their advantage. They implied the previous Indian owners were unworthy or unlucky, thereby justifying keeping it safely in Queen Victoria's possession, where supposedly it would do no harm.
Convenient. And what happened to Dilip Singh? The psychological impact.
Utterly devastating. He was raised in England, basically as Queen Victoria's exotic pet project, paraded in high society, painted by famous artists.
Oh dear.
As an adult, he finally grasped the full extent of the manipulation, how he'd been stripped of everything. He desperately tried to reclaim his Sikh identity, even reconverted, tried to return to India to rally his former kingdom.
Did he succeed?
Sadly, no. He died in exile in Paris. His mental health was completely shattered. It's a tragic testament to the damage inflicted by colonial power, by the loss of his heritage. It just reveals that chilling pattern again, the diamond's dazzling beauty masking profound human suffering, exploitation, cultural destruction.
So the diamond finally makes it to England in 1850. But Queen Victoria, surprisingly, she wasn't initially all that impressed.
Not really. It was cut in the old Indian style, you see, which emphasized weight and size over the kind of fiery sparkle Europeans preferred.
So she decided it needed a makeover.
A radical one. Under Prince Albert's careful supervision, it was recut in 1852. shrinking dramatically from that original 186 carats down to the current 105.6.
And many historians today see that as
The ultimate act of cultural vandalism, basically. Sacrificing its unique historical form, its original size, its traditional Indian character, all for a more brilliant, symmetrical European ideal of sparkle. A piece of its history was literally shaved away.
and then it became part of the crown jewels.
Yes, and what's fascinating is how deliberately it was embedded in British royal regalia. It wasn't just a personal jewel for Victoria. After her death, it moved into Queen Alexandra's crown, then Queen Mary's, and finally into the crown made for Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, in 1937.
So not just randomly placed.
Not at all. It was a conscious, strategic act, transforming this looted treasure into a powerful, very visible symbol of imperial dominance, of continuity. Every time that crown appeared in public, it was silently, powerfully proclaiming Britain's power over its former colonies. A constant reminder of conquest.
Which brings us to the present day. The demands for repatriation. They've gotten louder, haven't they?
Louder and much more insistent. Ever since India's independence in 1947, the calls for its return have been pretty constant, unwavering. And now Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, even the Taliban have joined in, each with their own historical claims. It's a really complex web of ownership disputes.
But the British response has been?
A firm, consistent no.
Back in 2013, Prime Minister David Cameron put it pretty bluntly. He said something like, "I don't think that's the right approach. If you say yes to one, you suddenly find the British Museum would be empty."
Wow, okay. That's direct.
Yeah, it kind of underscores a reluctance to really grapple with the legacy of empire. And remember, King Charles III's coronation in 2023.
Vaguely, yeah. The palace, very tactfully, maybe strategically, avoided the whole issue. They kept the Queen Mother's crown, the one with the Kohinoor, in storage, said it was inappropriate to use after her death. But it was also a neat way to sidestep a global controversy.
And you mentioned the competing claims, India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran.
Right. And what's kind of wild, or perhaps just politically astute, is how the British conveniently use these competing claims to justify keeping the diamond.
How so?
It's almost like they leverage the fragmented historical claims. If no single country can definitively prove sole ownership to Britain's satisfaction, then the current possessor gets to keep it. It's a familiar tactic, really. If everyone's arguing over it, we'll just hold on to it for safekeeping indefinitely.
Which undeniably highlights how the diamond still symbolizes historical betrayal, doesn't it? Colonial plunder, that relentless chain of personal and political betrayals from Shah Jahan in his prison cell to Dalip Singh, stripped of his identity.
Exactly. It serves as this potent, unyielding reminder of the unhealed wounds of colonialism and the persistent refusal in some quarters to fully acknowledge and maybe right historical wrongs. The incredible story of the Kohinoor just reveals, with stark clarity, how greed and power, especially when tied up with empire, can corrupt even the strongest relationships and leave these enduring scars on history.
So there you have it, our deep dive into the Kohinoor diamond. A truly fascinating object caught right in the middle of humanity's worst impulses, greed, conquest, betrayal, leaving this remarkable trail of misfortune across centuries. It's a story that really forces you to look beyond the sparkle.
And it leaves us with a provocative thought to maybe mull over. Is the diamond truly cursed by some, mystical force? Or does its tumultuous, bloody history simply reflect the destructive, insatiable power of human ambition and the often dark, uncomfortable origins of wealth and empire? Something to think about.
Definitely something to think about. If you decide to travel to India, we have a recommendation. 5 Senses Tours organizes tours across India, which are immersive cultural experiences. You can email contact@5sensestours.com or WhatsApp to +919 845 677 446.